Good morning. As you can see, I just lit a nice quick fire. The reason being, the midges are biting. Oh, and they're biting. I've put my Avon skin so soft on and it hasn't worked at all. Bloody hopeless. So I thought, get that fire going quick. You may have noticed, I lit that with a Swiss Army Farmer. Excellent little knife. Lucky for me, I had some nice dry feather sticks here. Be prepared. And if you notice the little pouch it was in, I've had that from Neil from Greencraft, and he's selling them on his Etsy store, and they're excellent. Kettle's on, and that is my oldest piece of cooking gear I've got. That Trangia kettle is over 30 years old, and it's not really quite enough for two, especially if Nick's here and he's got a massive cup. But just fine for one. 27 I think it is, the 27 model. God, I've had it some years. Well, I've had my cup of tea, so now I'm happy. I banked the fire up and I've put some logs which I know are going to smoke on there. Get rid of these midges, most of them are gone. I did just have a mosquito in my cup of tea. There we are, one of them things. Added protein. And you've probably seen from the title what I've got in store today. I'm going to do some ferrorod testing. Now I bought a new ferrorod a couple of days ago from the bushcraft store. I still haven't taken the label off. And it's a big old lump. If you compare it to a Light My Fire, it's a big one. Now I've got several ferrorods which I've been using on and off for years, and obviously Light My Fire one, that usually lives on a knife sheath. The big old beast, which was an eBay purchase a few years back. My super duper one, which looks a bit of a mess, but it works. I've got a spike on the end. If I'm using birch bark or something, I can hold the tinder down, and it's got a carbide striker on it. The handle is fat wood, and that's waxed sisal, and I can actually fluff up the end and just like that and get a fire going with that if I want. I have got a lot of other fire starters, magnesium ones, but I'm just going to deal with ferrorods today, just the ferrocerium. Well, I'm going to make some feather sticks now. I'm not going to bore you with the process because you've seen it enough. So I'm going to sit here now, enjoy myself for about 15-20 minutes making feather sticks. Feather sticks are done. unfortunately they're not all as good as each other. Some are a lot better, but they'll all light with a ferro rod. I know that for a fact. But before I start making sparks, I wanted to talk about a video I watched many years ago with the late great Mors Kochanski, who, as I've probably told you before, is my bushcraft hero. God, basically. Now in the video, Mors was explaining about ferro rods, and one thing he was talking about how people strike them, and he was saying how a professional outdoorsman like himself would use a ferro rod. Now most of us get your knife, dig in, get a good pile of sparks out. I've been doing that for years. And you create a dish. Like that. Well, Mors says no, you don't do it like that. You just use the tip. A professional will just use the tip. And that is the reason why Old Faithful ferro rod has only got an inch, because I try to just use the tip of it. Try my best not to dig in too hard with it. Still got a bit of a dip. Well, this one now, inside under this tape, is basically worn to hardly anything. So this is its second go around. So you can make your ferro rod last a lot longer if you can turn it around and you just use the tip. So that's what Mors says. But in a perfect world, obviously, we don't have super dry summers with fields of dry grass and birch bark that just falls off the tree. No, where in the UK it's different. Yes, we do get birch bark and we can use it, but where I am here, there's hardly anything and it's crap. So I mainly rely on feather sticks and, you know, various tinder, sisal, things like that, but mainly feather sticks for me. Now, this one is brand new and I'm going to have to get this coating off it. Coating removed. First one I'm going to have a go at probably be a light my fire. So I'll try the tip, the Mors method first. Doesn't want to play ball, does it? The problem with that method is the fact that you've got to put the ferro rod down and hold it in place. Lit. Taking a bit of time to light it though. Now let's do the dig in method, but I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm going to go about there. First go. Well, if you're wondering why I put it out, because I can use it again to light the fire. So I think that proves a bit of a point that with feather sticks, trying the tip method isn't a very good idea. But you can certainly use just that amount, then you don't get that dish. So you can see now, light my fire is good. That's what I've used for years. Now the big eBay bruiser. This feather stick isn't quite as good. No, it's actually okay. Right. Now I knew this was going to happen. The big eBay one is soft, and that's all I'm doing that way, with all that pressure with my thumb, is making shavings out of it. Which is fine, you know, because they will light when you actually get a spark. Best way to use these is small bursts. But you know as well as I do, that ain't gonna light that. Well, it works, but not as well as the Light My Fire. This to me is far better if you've got a bundle of grass or a big bundle of something and you can go hell for leather at it. See what I mean? So it does have its place. Now let's try the new one. Now the new one has come with this striker, and these are completely shit. Really don't want to bother using one of these. Look at that. How they think that's supposed to be any good, I will never know. Now the spine isn't too bad, but it could do with running over get a file or a grinder on it. Try it this way. Awful, absolutely awful. It's coming off. Nice sharp spine instead. Tried the Moore's way first. Nothing happening. Well, I don't know if you could tell, but that's all that was doing, was scraping material off, just like the big eBay one. But it's hard. It's a hell of a lot harder than the Light My Fire one. It's not very good. Now that's a very good one. Same as the last time. Took a few scrapings of material off, then a spark, and the shavings lit. Not the wood shavings, the ferrocerium shavings. Well, it's okay. I'm glad it was only £7. Now I remember once I was showing off and I put a file of feather sticks on the floor. I had my big rod, and from standing I lit them first spark. Bit of a fluke, but I think I'll try it again. Yes, it was a fluke. So that's the feather stick scenario out of the way. Now the next thing I'm going to try and light is a piece of fungus, and this is a King Alfred's cake. Now you may think, well, that's a complete waste of time, but it's not. Here's a scenario for you. You go to the woods, you got your ferro rod, but you haven't got a naked flame to light things with. There's no tinder there, no dry grasses, no dead, nice dry ferns, but there's leaves on the floor, and the leaves are dry. Now I've done this before, and it is possible to light leaves with a coal. Something like this, charred material, charred cloth. It's fiddly, but it's doable. I've got an old video, very old video, one of the first ones I ever did, and it was years ago, and I believe I'm lighting leaves with charred cloth. Check that out. I don't think hardly anybody's ever watched it, but I do it there. So there's your scenario. So what I want to do now is light this with a ferro rod and see which one is best. Light my fire first. Fiddly little things like this, they roll about. They're not ideal. So that wasn't too bad. Put it out, drop it on the floor. Big fat eBay special. Can you see the shavings coming off? That really doesn't want to play, does it? Nope. Big fat TBS. That lit. Well, I think that's pretty obvious. Light my fire wins again. What I'll do now, Old Faithful, with a little striker, emergency striker I keep with it. Funny, isn't it? The knife is just too big for the fiddly little thing like that. You're better off with a small striker. This is a light my fire, mind you. I'm going to go off and I'm going to see if I can find some dead ferns. That'll be the last test of all. But before I do that, I just want to show you this. Speaks for itself, doesn't it? Now, that is actually a bushcraft store ferro rod, and that works just as well as a Light My Fire. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe this diameter, army style, is a different composition to the big fat one, and that's why I bought the big fat one, because I thought it would be as good as this. Obviously not. So ponder on that.
Now I'm only lighting these dead ferns to simulate lighting dried grass. Dead ferns are particularly useless with a ferro rod. They just light and go straight out. But I just wanted to simulate lighting a big bundle of material.
And I'm going to give it a good one. Well, the only thing that demonstrated was how crap a tinder dead bracken is. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I hate the stuff and it is crap. But did show what gives a good shower of sparks. And basically the Light My Fire is great, the eBay Special is great, and the TBS is not so great. Having that extra bit of tinder, two forms, makes a world of difference. Well, that's my ferro rod evaluation come to an end. Three pretty well known kinds of ferro rod. I know I say the eBay Special, but if you look on eBay for ferrocerium rod, you'll get quite a few of them, probably come from the same place. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Light My Fire comes out on top, and I knew it would, because I just knew. The eBay Special comes second, and the TBS big fat one is no good. I'm sorry, TBS. They're never going to send me any cheap stuff. No way. Because the second thing now I've slagged off. But at the end of the day, carry something with you. My homemade one works a treat. That extra bit of tinder, 2 forms on there with a striker, it's great. You know, you're not going to fail with something like that if you put the practice in. It's just great. So, well, I hope you enjoyed that.